Good day, everyone. How are you feeling today? That's great. So our learning objectives for today is, at the end of the lesson, you should be able to identify the verb in the simple past tense form in a sentence. Second, use the simple past form of the verb in a sentence correctly. And third, explain and discuss the importance of the correct usage of the simple past tense of the verb in a sentence. Before we start our discussion, let us first play a game. This is a guessing game and it is called charades. For the mechanics of the game, you will be divided into two groups. I will project the numbers on the screen and each number contains the words that you have or need to act out. Each group will pick a number from 1 to 10. One member will act it out and the rest of the group members should guess the word. Each group will be given 30 seconds to guess the word, and the group who will get the highest or the higher point will be the winner. Have you enjoyed our game? Do you feel motivated now? Okay, that's good. Last time we talked about the simple present tense of verbs. So who can tell me what is a simple present tense of verbs? Okay, that's good. Can you give me a sentence using the simple present form of the verb? Very good. Since you already know the simple present tense of the verb and its use, let's move on to the simple past tense of the verb. Who has any idea what is a simple past tense of the verb? Yes, that is correct. Simple past tense is a verb tense that is used to talk about the things that have already happened or is already done. Here are some examples of words or verbs in the simple past tense. Planted, studied, and performed. What have you noticed in these following words? Yes, that is right. Verbs in the simple past tense usually ends with D or ED. Who can give me another example of words or verbs that are in the simple past tense form? Well done. But we also have to know and remember that not all verbs in the simple past form ends with D or ED. Some of these verbs changes in spelling, and these are called irregular verbs. For example, swim changes to swam. Fly becomes flew. And sweep becomes swept. Do you understand, class? Okay, that's good. Now, who can give me an example of verbs in the simple past tense that does not end with D or ED? Okay, good. So can you give me an example of a sentence using those words? Very good. Now take a look at the words or verbs that we used in our game earlier. Who can give me the simple past form of those verbs? Okay, very good. Now let's watch a very short video that can help you understand the simple past tense of the verb even more.
Welcome to English Grammar Spot. This lesson is about the past simple. I'm going to show you how to form a past simple and when to use a past simple. But before we get started, it's good to know that in the English language we have regular verbs and irregular verbs, and it is advisable that you study the most commonly used irregular verbs. Now let's get started. Take a look at these sentences. I walked to school yesterday and he paid for dinner last week. Both these sentences are in the past simple tense. How to form a past simple? For the regular verbs, we simply use the infinitive form of the verb and we add ed. I kicked the ball. You closed the door. He wiped the table. She cooked dinner. And it rained yesterday for the singular forms. And for the plural forms, we walked to school. You watched the tennis match. They marked the tests. We need to pay extra attention to verbs that end in an E, such as live, close and wipe. With these verbs, we use the infinitive form of the verb, but we only add a D. For example, I lived here in 2012. He closed the window. They wiped the floor. We also need to pay extra attention to verbs that end in a Y, especially those preceded by a consonant, such as spy, envy, and study, the consonants being a P, a V, and a D. Here, the Y changes into an I. For example, he spied on his neighbours. We envied her cousin. They studied a lot. Now let's have a look at the irregular verbs. All irregular verbs have a unique past simple form. I built that shed last year. The infinitive form is to build. She taught English in the 1990s. The infinitive form is to teach. We ran the marathon in 2012. The infinitive form is to run. Let's have a look at the past simple in questions. For all verbs, regular and irregular, we use the auxiliary verb to do, but we need the past simple tense, which is did, and the infinitive form of the verb. Did she talk to him this morning? Did you ride your bicycles yesterday? Did they work on the farm last year? For the past simple in negations, regular and irregular, we also use the past simple tense of the auxiliary verb to do, which is did, and we add not to it, contracting it into didn't, plus the infinitive form of the verb. I didn't want to come over last night. We didn't walk to school this morning, and they didn't listen to the radio yesterday. Now let's have a look at the past simple in use. We use the past simple for things that happened at a specific time in the past, so we need to know when it happened. For example, yesterday, this morning, or in 2009. He left for New York yesterday. We ate our breakfast this morning. They got married in 2009. We also use the past simple in questions after when. When did you buy that t-shirt? When did she graduate from high school? I thank you for your attention. For regular updates, please subscribe to youtube.com/EnglishGrammarSpot or go to www.englishgrammarspot.com.
Did you get it, class? Do you really understand our lesson? Okay, that's good. Look at the sentences. Can you identify the verbs in the simple past form that are used in the sentences? Well, see. Good. Now, can you give me an example of a sentence using verbs in the simple past form? Well done. Is there any questions or clarifications? If none, let's have a short activity. So I have here 5 pictures. You will give me a sentence using verbs in the simple past form basing upon the given pictures. Number 1. Yes, okay, that's correct. Number 2. Okay, great. Next. That's good. 4. Nice sentence. And number 5. Great. So just a recap. What is the use of a simple past tense of the verb in a sentence? All right. For the last time, can you give me an example of a sentence using a verb in a simple past form? Okay, great. So that ends our discussion about the simple past tense of the verb. I have here sentences which you have to complete by selecting the correct simple past tense of the verb inside the parentheses to complete the sentence. Now let's take a look if your answers are correct. I think Jenny accepted the certificate on her behalf. The family baked some cookies together. Lisa compared the two products. Number 4, everyone were shocked when Jisoo fell off the stage. And 5, Rose made beautiful bouquet of flowers. Since I can see that you really understood it now, let's have another very short and easy written activity. Direction. Read the following sentences and provide the correct simple past form of the verb to complete each sentence. Let's check your written activity. Well done! So before anything else, your assignment is to write a short narrative about your Christmas celebration last year and identify all the verbs that you used in the simple past form. So that ends our lesson for today. God bless.